Enjoy fully. It's the Sparkle and Shine sale. Get 30% off everything. This is how we shine. At Zales, the Diamond Store.
Welcome back to our ongoing coverage of what has been a very scary night. We've had a tornado emergency in parts of Arkansas and Missouri and also into northwest Tennessee and Kentucky. It's been really rough in those areas in particular. And let's take a look at the latest on this storm. It may an observed tornado warning, considerable threat tag. But as we'll take a look at what's going on with the storm right now, it's not quite as well formed as it's been for a long period of time. The tornado likes to sit in that little notch right about there. As we look at the in that area, and you look at the most recent frames here, and we saw less and less evidence of that. And so it may very well be that there's still some lingering debris that's being tossed around, but we are seeing a weakening of that tornado. Let's hope so. Although there's a new signature showing up right there, and let's take a look at that relative to the velocity. That's exactly in the right place. So it looks like this thing is not done yet. And that can happen sometimes. It can cycle a little bit, can weaken for a time, but now gaining strength once again. And so it's unbelievable how long this thing has lasted. And now moving off to the northeast. So that'll be coming towards Crutchfield in the next few minutes here. And then Bearleton. Let me get a little bit tighter and we'll get a better look at where that is. So this is moving northeast right now, and that little ball is the tornado. So it looks like it may have waned just a little bit in intensity for a time, but now gaining strength once again, coming towards Crutchfield in 6 minutes, moving towards Bealerton in 9 minutes, Fulgham in 12 minutes, and Wingo in 18 minutes. It is just unbelievable how long this thing has lasted. I'm going to circle it one more time here, and we'll again look at the debris signature. Look at that. I mean, you just go back one scan, and there was nothing there. And now in this most recent scan, it has definitely, there's been a resurgence in the intensity of the storm and certainly in the debris. Sometimes that can mean that the tornado is ongoing, but it's just not picking up as much debris. Whatever the case, in this case, this continues to be a very dangerous storm. And again, coming towards Crutchfield and Bealerton and also Fulgham. If you're in any of those areas, please take this very seriously. This thing has been producing damage and debris for a long time. This has been the main storm that we have watched all night tonight, and I fear that we're going to be hearing about a lot of damage from the storm as we go through the night and into tomorrow. Now, I want to take you farther to the southwest, down into eastern Arkansas. Got a couple of tornado warnings here, Crittenden and also Cross and Poinsett counties, and then another one to the north for Craighead and Poinsett. So we're looking at the little dog leg there, kind of an L shape. That's where the tornado likes to sit. That coming towards Truman and Lunsford and Bunny. And then as we go a little farther south, we'll take a look at this next area as well. And that actually has gotten pretty tight here. In fact, let's zoom in and analyze that a little bit more. Right in there, where that is really wrapping up, that could very well be a tornado. Let's see if there's debris showing up. Maybe some hints of debris there, but not exactly co-located with that. But certainly we're seeing a circulation there that looks like it's wrapping up. So tracking that forward, that's near Cherry Valley and moving basically to the east-northeast. So coming towards Bay Village, Anderson Tully, and then Boat Run as well. Possible tornado coming your way in those areas. Then off to the north, we've got warnings on either side of St. Louis. Off to the west here, storm coming in towards the 44 corridor, and that's Franklin and Gasconade and Warren counties under warning right now. And that little dog leg coming up just north of Interstate 44, Beaufort and Jeffreysburg and Union in the path of that possible tornado. Then another warning here for Bond County. And as we look at the velocity data here, pretty strong signature near Donaldson right now and moving northeast, coming into East Fork in about 5 minutes, and then Fillmore in about 11 minutes, and Ramsey in about 20 minutes or so. So heads up on that. Up into Bloomington, no longer a tornado warning here. Good news there, not a huge surprise because we are lacking in instability as you get farther north. Then a tornado warning in Christian and Hopkins and Muhlenberg County in Kentucky. We're pretty far from the radar here, but we are able to see a very strong rotation in the mid-levels of the storm. And so Earls and Bremen and Soralvo looking at a possible tornado coming in the next few minutes. So I want to show you what's going on with the instability right now. This is the fuel for thunderstorms, low-level warm and humid air. And again, you see how we're kind of running away from that by the time you get up into northern Illinois. So we're not going to see the same level of threat in northern Illinois. In Nashville, it's been colder for a lot of the day today, but that's just beginning to change with a southerly flow that is now driving warmer and more humid air in. And that's why that tornado threat is going to go for some time tonight. And we're also looking at a terrific amount of low-level wind shear, very strong winds coming out of the southwest at about 5,000 feet and out of a different direction relative to the surface winds. And that wind shear is a big part of what drives this tornado threat. So seeing how this evolves, continues to move farther east, does begin to contract. This is looking at the modeled tornado threat. It does begin to contract as you get into the morning, by the time the sun comes up. But Mike, this tornado threat is going to continue for quite some time tonight.
I wanted to ask you about the debris signature that you're locating on that tornado. How high do we know the debris is going in the air? Does that tell us anything about the intensity of the tornado or the size of the tornado?
It definitely can. I can't actually query the height of the debris signature, unfortunately. I need to look at another radar to do that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure in this case.
But in some instances, is it 1,000 feet? Can it be higher than that?
Oh, it could be way higher. I mean, it can go up to 10,000 feet and higher in some cases. And it's been such a well-developed debris signature, and it's still really. I mean, it's just crazy. This thing has cycled a little bit. It's kind of waxed and waned in intensity. But as you look at it right now, I mean, that's as well-developed a debris signature as you're ever going to see. I mean, that's extremely well-developed. So this is once again an incredibly dangerous storm. And that is now moving, it looks like just about due northeast. I think that vector is basically now just about due northeast, and we do have a downstream tornado warning now. So, tracking that forward, that comes into Fulgham in 8 minutes and into Baltimore in 13 minutes and Dublin in 15 minutes. And I'm going to actually zoom out a little bit so we can get a better sense of the lay of the land here. But yeah, when you see a signature like that, you see that really well-developed blue circle in a sea of red like that, that is absolutely a tornado. That is an extremely dangerous storm, and coming towards Crutchfield in 3 minutes and Beaverton in 6 minutes. I'm astonished by how long this thing has been going on.
When you see that round signature on the debris signature, does that tell you something about the intensity of the circulation?
Yes.
That you've got well-formed circulation that's holding debris?
Absolutely, it does. When you see that, and you see that, that structure, that circular structure, and also that very sharp gradient along the edges like that, it's absolutely telling you that is a well-developed, most likely large, very intense tornado. Because as it does begin, and we saw this, sometimes you see less of a signature just because there's not as much to pick up. If it's passing through, open fields, parts of the plains, you might not see as much debris, and that is not necessarily indicative of the strength of the tornado. But yes, when you see something like that on radar, you know that is an extremely mean storm.
Well, we're going to keep our fingers crossed. That's more trees than anything else here. A lot of trees in this part of the U.S., so hopefully more trees than buildings. That's for Carl. Thank you very much for that analysis. We know that cities have been hit, including Monette, Arkansas. Monette Manor Nursing Home has taken a hit. Our Charles Peak is there. Charles, the Office of Emergency Management confirms that there have been injuries there. What do you know?
Mike, they've been so busy, they're still doing search and rescue here. And so, other than unofficially with some fire departments saying there are injuries and potentially worse, we're still not bothering them, letting them do what they need to do first right now.
Charles, what's the scene like? Is it fairly chaotic? The images that we're getting from you, it's raining right now. There's a lot of debris. Trees have been knocked down. How much structural damage can you see?
It looks like the roof and part of the center part. I did talk and actually helped one of the employees out of the area and stuff. She was telling me that just the whole building is decimated, and I mean collapsed walls and different things like that. So it is a chaotic situation based on the amount of emergency response here. They're treating it as a mass casualty type situation.
That's not what we want to hear, that's for sure.
No.
Charles, as far as the conditions that you've seen through the evening. Can you describe those for us and give our viewers a sense at what could be headed their way tonight?
Well, in this particular case, I was on it southwest of Jonesboro, and at that point in time, it started as a relatively smaller tornado, and then when it got to the east of Jonesboro, it picked up in size, and then through this area, just looking at it on radar, it was huge. And talking to some other people that saw it, said it was just a huge wedge tornado, and it just continued. It sort of cycled some, but it's one of those deals that you just don't know. And with these lines, and we've got a tornado warning, we're right on the edge of another one here. And talking to fire officials, they're trying to decide, do they pack up and leave, or do they stay here right now? And so just a dangerous night. And as you know, Mike, the thing I run across time and time again when I talk to people is ask them what they would do differently. They said, well, I would have responded to the warning that I got. And so tonight's one of those nights. Don't think about it. If you're in a tornado warning, get to your safe place. And, the maybe inconvenience will be well worth it.
Yeah, it's actually well put, Charles. Don't overthink it tonight. And
Right.
Just be safe more than anything else. Charles, thank you so much for the report tonight. Again, on the scene of the Monette Manor nursing home that has been hit tonight, and heavy presence of fire and ambulance on the scene. There's search and rescue continues. We want to take you to Memphis, Tennessee right now. We could be in the bullseye for more storms overnight. Meteorologist Chris Bruin is there, seeing what has happened in other places. Chris, obviously, when you see larger metro areas that could be affected, large numbers of people that could be affected, you got to take a moment of pause and say, listen, we've got to take this very seriously tonight, because it could happen in the middle of the night while a lot of people are sleeping.
Yeah, that's the case for so many urban centers, but everyone east of there, most of Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, as well as parts of Mississippi, we got an overnight threat. We haven't even gotten into the worst of this yet. So take what you're seeing out of Arkansas, out of Missouri, and think, okay, if I get a warning, that could happen to me here too. We know there may be similar scenes repeated as to what we've seen in Monette, Arkansas. So we've got to pay very close attention. And I think people have gotten the warning that it's going to be intense. We know tonight's going to be tough. They know the tornado watches are up, and they'll likely be extended. Here in Memphis, the tornado watches go through about 11 p.m. It's still quiet right now. It's still warm. There's some people out there, families hanging out. It's been mostly a beautiful day today. Hard to believe 2 weeks from Christmas Eve, and it's 80 degrees, but it's that record heat, and it's that instability that's fueling this extreme threat for severe weather. Remember, Torcons, they're at a 7. That's not something you see every day, especially this time of the year. So please take these seriously. I know for a lot of people, they don't associate, December with severe weather, but this is really like a springtime setup. So take these warnings seriously. There's that line. Look how close it is to the Mississippi River. So it's go time. Within the next 2 to 3 hours, I think we're going to start really seeing a lot of those warnings getting into Memphis and across Dyersburg and western Tennessee. Let's time it out for you. I want to show you what we're looking at. And again, this is just a model, so don't hold it to truth. But it gives you an idea of how that line may move. It's going to encompass so much, and damaging winds may be just as damaging as some of these tornadoes that could exceed 80 miles per hour. So don't just focus on the tornado threat. Treat the severe thunderstorm warnings just as seriously, because this line means business, and that temperature contrast from nearly 80 degrees, Mike, to the low 30s tomorrow night has a lot of power. You know something's up when you're dealing with this type of temperature trend this time of the year.
Yeah, a really forceful atmosphere right now. Chris, thank you so much for the report. We'll have more with Chris coming out here on the show tonight. Let's show you what happens for the remainder of the evening for many of you as we time this out for you. So you take a look at the big picture here across the south. We've got the storms that are really hammering us now, but there's just this incredible flow, a really intense flow that basically stems from the Gulf of Mexico, brings in moist, unstable air even overnight. And ahead of the front here and along the front, storms are really kicking even middle of the night tonight. And that squall line could still produce tornadoes. Spin-ups along that line could be intense. And so while you're sleeping, heads up. Even as you wake up tomorrow mornings, places maybe like Huntsville or Chattanooga, heads up for you. Memphis, around 11 midnight, that's when it comes into the west side of town. 1 o'clock, hitting us hard. Millington, Memphis, and Tunica, then forcing its way east with a secondary line coming in behind that. But we could have a couple of different rounds of severe weather that hit us here in Memphis. And even if you don't get a tornado warning, although we think you're in a prime spot for it, even if you don't get a tornado warning, some of the thunderstorm wind gusts could exceed 70 miles per hour. In Middle Tennessee, we go scattered storms throughout the next couple of hours, but it's really going to be an intense line that comes through around 3 o'clock in the morning here in Nashville. And then we could have storms that last for a couple of hours after that. In the morning, you begin to clear out, air stabilizes, sunshine comes out. Nashville, here's our time frame. Beginning around 1 o'clock in particular is when the storms come in. I think the most intense stuff, as we showed you on the future radar there, around 3 o'clock in the morning. Temperatures are almost 70 degrees at 3 o'clock in the morning in Nashville in December. It's insane to think about, right? Around Paducah and Evansville, a couple of different lines of storms through the night tonight, clearing out around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, but very rough for the next several hours. We're back with more live coverage after this.
The largest untapped gold reserve in the entire world.
The awesome thing about Greenland is gold can be anywhere. We all gave up so much to come here.
This is more dangerous than I thought it would be.
We got trouble.
We're running out of time, man.
I don't believe you have what it takes to even be out here. If gold was easy to find, everybody would do it.
Get the gold, dude.
Welcome back to our special coverage of severe weather tonight. That is a live view from Monette, Arkansas, a town which was unfortunately hit very hard by a tornado earlier tonight, now being hit again by very strong wind and heavy rain and possibly some hail on top of that. It has been an awful night in the Mid-South, and we continue to see a very serious tornado threat. Let's show you where the warnings are right now. We've got a string of warnings from Northeast Arkansas up into parts of Kentucky and then also into Illinois. This is the storm that has been producing a tornado for an exceptionally long period of time. It's been over an hour now that we've had unbroken warnings and debris signature as well. Observed a tornado here, also considerable threat tag in the warning, and this is Graves and Marshall counties where the storm is now entering. And look at that is what we call a debris ball right there. That little ball right there is the tornado, and that is now coming towards Mayfield. So folks, if you're in Mayfield, you need to get to your safe place right now. Don't mess around with this thing. Don't try to get a look at it. It's dark, obviously. It's going to be wrapped in rain, and this storm has been producing a tornado, and one that has produced damage for quite some time now. That's going to be moving into Mayfield in 7 minutes. It's moving very quickly. Northeast, last I checked, it was about 60 miles per hour. Let me get the latest on that. So it's still moving very quickly. 55 miles per hour is the latest forward speed. You know, that's highway speeds, and it's going to be on you before you know it. So you've got just a few minutes there in Mayfield to get to the lowest, most interior room, as many walls between you and the outside as is possible. If you've got a helmet, that's great as well. A lot of injuries that are sustained in tornadoes are head injuries, and so certainly if you've got a bike helmet or something like that, that is a great idea. But you don't have a lot of time in Mayfield, so don't run all around and try to look for a helmet if you don't know where one is right away. This thing is going to be coming in very short order, and again, that is most likely an ongoing tornado there that appears to be a debris signature. In fact, let's take a look at the debris mode here on the radar, and we are absolutely still seeing those lowered values, those blue and green colors indicating irregular shapes, non-meteorological objects being lofted into the air right where we're seeing that strongest circulation, and no doubt a very strong velocity signature as well. So, you know, again, this is just now moments away from coming into Mayfield. So please, folks, there's the brand new scan there. So I'm going to redraw this. And, you know, this thing, you know, every time we think maybe it's just beginning to, you know, start to weaken a little bit, it bounces right back. It's been going for such a long time, and it's going to be coming into Mayfield now in 6 minutes. So please, folks, get to your safe place in Mayfield right now as this storm comes in. Now to the south. Got a series of warnings to tell you about here. Crittenden and Cross and Poinsett County. Another warning here. Craighead and Poinsett counties, and then a new warning off to the north of that. Let me just get a look at that real quickly. And that warning, in effect, for Craighead, Dunklin, and Mississippi counties. So these are the very same counties that were affected by the tornado that we just talked about moments ago. It's they've really been going through it tonight. We're watching that little dog leg right there coming up towards Cottonwood Corner and Big Lake and Half Moon. Then off to the south of that, looking at another little dog leg there that is near Truman and moving towards Marked Tree. And so that'll be coming into Cassidy and Lepanto in about 11 minutes. Mike?
A lot going on with severe weather, Carl, but also pretty significant winter storm happening through the Midwest. How about here in Minnesota? You can see the tractor trailer has gone to the median. Another jackknifes here. Really slick roads for us, unfortunately, and really snarling traffic. A lot of fender bend. Another tractor there that's jackknifed, but a real mess on the interstates, unfortunately. Again, you look from above here, you can see how the vehicle, the trailer just covers the entire interstate, right? That's just an absolute mess. Minnesota DOT says hundreds of snowplows are now out clearing the roads, but you've got to take a long time to clear this stuff up. And that wasn't a lot of snow, right? That was, how much snow is on the ground there? An inch? Maybe? But guess what? There are now reports of as much as a foot of snow south side of Minneapolis, around Burnsville. Winter storm warnings still remain in effect. So in some respects, Winter Storm Atticus has overachieved even. You can see how the lows really begun to intensify here this evening with the severe weather on the south side we've been talking about. But the interesting thing about some of the snow is it hasn't, the heavy snow bands haven't moved that much. And so in Minneapolis, you've been stuck right in one of these heavier snow bands. Now, north side a little bit less, but right in Minneapolis, heavy snow's been falling for a while, at least moderate to heavy snow has been. And then south side, again, we've accumulated about a foot on the south side already. 29 Minneapolis, Albert Lea 28, in Wausau we're sitting at 32 degrees, and heavier snow's going to roll through central and northern Wisconsin. Madison, we're 36, and we're rain. Look at all the snow reports here in the blue dots. A place like Skyline, Minnesota, 5.5 inches of snow. But that was a couple of hours ago, and more snow is coming down to double or maybe even triple that before it's all said and done. Here's how much total snow is still in the forecast. Here's some pockets through the UP of Michigan where in areas another foot could be coming your way. Green Bay, about 3 to 5. West side of town, getting 5 to 8. Stay with the Weather Channel for special coverage. If you're on cable and satellite and you're subscribing, find us on Roku, Fire Stick, and your smart TV as well.
It's the Sparkle and Shine sale. Get 30% off everything. This is how we shine. At Sales, the Diamond Store.